Hey, everybody, welcome. It is time for Syntext Live. Hey, everybody, how's it going? And I'm sure everyone's asking that same question. Is this guy in front of me man or machine? Don't worry, we're going to be talking about that series here tonight on Syntext Live. And got my notes, got everything ready. So as long as everybody else is ready, make sure you get yourself a drink. Don't worry, again, it is soda, it's not vodka. And let's get started. First things first. I hope I'm coming in good. Let me know if the settings are off, everybody. And I'll be watching the chat box while we're going. I will stop immediately if we get a super chat. Unless that happens, I'm going to get through my starting rant, and then we're going to go to the actual chat box. All right, first things first. We're going to be talking about the current series that's going on, which is Man or Machine. And yes, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have figured out, as long as you're keeping up, why that title actually exists. Now, I do have to say that originally it wasn't supposed to come out the way it was. The original idea was to actually go into a alien trooper's shoes, and when they work with the older soldiers, you wonder, how can they be so nice before drop, but while they're working, they're so focused like an actual machine? That was the original inspiration for the story, and it kind of morphed this way around. It didn't quite line it up with the actual story itself. So, but yeah, it did come out pretty good. And the way it's going, don't worry, we all know which way it's going at the moment. It's only got a few more chapters left. Yes, there is one dropping tonight at midnight Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you are in the world, you know what time it comes out. I think last week a few people said it comes out in England for like 5 a.m. or something like that. And, start your day with me. Scary thought. I don't even like starting my day with me. So, and, getting my ass out of bed in the morning's difficult sometimes. Anyway, there was a little confusion on the change in tone. Okay, I want to make sure that everybody understands that the change in tone in the story itself was simply because the enemy isn't stupid. They're not static. They're always trying to adapt. And that's kind of the point of the story, is to show that you can fight all you want. You can have the best weapons, the best tactics, but they're always going to try to outthink you, which is what any standard person or Xeno is going to try to do. They want to outthink you, and they want to outthink me, and they want to outthink every other person, to include the helicopters I got flying outside my window right now. Did we just start World War III? What the hell's going on? Anyways, that's why when they actually jumped the line, you saw there was a huge change. Now, you got to remember that before then, they were only facing off 3% of the population. That's how many were fighting from humanity. All the colonies, all the core worlds, all the stations, everything. 3% was the maximum. Now, I'm sure most of you can figure out why it was 3%. Yes, I am American, and 3% actually has a particular meaning around here. I'm sure a few of you are typing away, so I'll just say it. During the start of the American Revolution, they were facing off against 3% of the population. Things did not totally turn against the British in that war until the regulars actually got their training and everything lined up. Okay, that's when everything really changed. Okay, the Battle of the Cowpens, which everybody thinks from the Gibson movie, The Patriot, was like that. Believe me, it was not like that. I mean, granted, the U.S. won, but they did have to sucker them in. They did have to outthink them. But that's the first time that they had a massive amount of regulars to actually fight. And since they, as far as in the story, Man versus Machine, when they attacked what was a manufacturing hub, sure, but it was still a civilian target. It was not a hard target. That's when it pissed everybody else off. And they're like, okay, that's it. We're in. We're coming. And hell's coming with me. And that was the whole preface of that. And each time the aliens get smarter, things change. Just like when the one battleship captain thought, oh, I'll just take my battle group and we'll just kick their ass. We're invincible. Yeah, humanity, fuck yeah. Well, humanity, you just got fucked in the ass. That's what happens. You get back when I was infantry, we had a phrase: you get cocky, you get killed, and you probably get everybody else killed with you. And if we really want to hammer it in, we just would say, you get cocky, you get dead. No fun. Hubris is a bitch. Speaking of which, I do have to give a small shout out to a semi-bad science fiction show, The Orville. I know some people like it, and that's where I got the whole Ozymandias line, because hubris did come to bite somebody in the ass. And I was thinking, what would be perfect for that? And I remember watching that scene, and I was like, okay, that works. Okay. So you just got to remember that the shift in tone, especially when suddenly there's these massive amounts of dreadnoughts, massive amounts of battleships, massive amounts of personnel showing up, that went from the militia fighting to the actual military fighting. And we're talking all of them. And let's just put it in this case. Say you're over in Europe and you have, let's pick a country, Italy. Italy's fighting, but they're only using a few of their militia to fight. And then suddenly somebody pushes against the EU, and then you have the entirety of all the European nations bringing all their military. That's the difference. And that suddenly will shift the tone. And I did have a few people comment on this. They didn't understand why I changed it. But that's the point of a lot of my stories, is they need to evolve over time. If you don't have a story that evolves, you know what you're listening to? You're listening to AI generated stories, because they don't evolve over time. Unless somebody goes in there specifically and puts in certain points, it doesn't evolve over time, which is why you get cookie cutter stories, which honestly drive me freaking nuts. You can actually tell when somebody wrote it, because not only does it evolve, but a lot of times it's funny. Throat's a little dry. All right. Now, another section I wanted to talk about was science fiction power. Okay. There was a lot of questions on what type of power I'm using. Now, that's actually different per series. And if you are working on your specific story, you have to know that each one has to have a specific power, and you cannot change it midway without a really, really, really good reason. Now, I got a few written down here in my notes. I just want to go over. I mean, you have your basic fusion reactor, usually with the fusion drive. Most people know about that one. That's the big flame sticking out the ass of the ship itself, which is standard propellant to send you. Okay, there's other drives that are very similar. I'm not going to get, the nano drives and all that, which as far as moving the ship are the same way, but they don't actually produce the power. There's 0-point energy, also known as quantum energy, also known as flux field. A lot of different names for the same thing. And I really wish, even though it's actually science fact, that we could take it out of science fiction and use it commonly. You also have your gravimetric drives. Now, the kicker is, if you're actually messing around with gravimetric drives, remember that that is never in the butt of the ship, okay? Not in the aft. It's in the bow of the ship, because it's actually pulling you. It's not pushing you. It's the difference between having a prop in the back of the plane compared to the front. It's just the way those operate. I did not come up with that. That is not science fiction. That is simple science fact. If you have gravimetrics, you're actually going feet first towards whichever way you're going. That's the way you're going to stand, because gravity is going to be pulling you towards the bow of the ship. And then on top of that, you also have your nuclear drives, which those get really funky. It works pretty much similar to the fusion drive, but instead of fusion, it's fission. Honestly, the difference between those is negligible. The only thing is, if you're using fusion drive or nuclear, if you're drawing your ships out, especially those you draw, there's going to be a massive section dedicated to simply shielding. Okay, this is why actually Babylon 5 did this right. They said you don't go for the engines on the ships, because everybody who was using fusion drives, the thing was so shielded you can't break it. You could hit it with everything you want, and it's like just slapping somebody lightly on the ass. It's just going to turn and smile at you. Do it again. And crazy shit like that. Okay, so understand, for your own stories, stick with them, but you have to choose which one. Now, a few of you remember the Galactic War Games, where they actually used fusion drives, but that was the double to make sure that they weren't getting caught, even though I mentioned in that the human ships don't normally use fusion drives. Well, you can mix and match in this location. So understand that really well. All right. Now, those are the basic power. If you're going to create your own, and a lot of you have been saying that you want me to focus more on talking about whichever power plant there is. I'm too deep into this story right now to backtrack and talk about the different power. I will try to put that in more. Now, along with power, since we're talking quantum, I wanted to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to be talking about teleportation and time travel. Believe it or not, those are pretty much two sides of the same coin, because in both cases, you're using energy to move mass from one point in time and space into another point in time and space. The only way that you can tell the difference is if the time that you're dilating is minimally shifted, then it's considered teleportation. If you're actually moving things without moving maximum space or minimum space at all, then you are using time travel. That's really the only difference between the two. As far as science goes, that's it. One moves more space and less time, and the other one moves more time and less space. That's it. That's it breaking down. You can use, if you have your own story, you can use the same tech for both of them. And again, even the Treks were playing with that. Okay. They started to say how you're actually time traveling when they, play ping pong with your molecules and zip you up or zip you down to a planet and all that fun shit. So just remember that they're linked. They're the same thing. So in case somebody tries to do a story, and especially if you're doing one, if you're doing teleportation, you have the chance. It's an option, not that you have to, but it's an option. You can use time travel in there. All right. Now, on to the next topic here. I know I'm rattling through these really quick because I see stuff bumping up in the chat box. I want to get to it. This is anime I can't stand. I know you guys out there who listen to me, a lot of you actually reference certain animes we talk to, and I don't reference a lot of them. I do reference a couple, and I've had folks in the comment section go, yeah, I know where that's from. But the problem is there's a lot of anime that people love I can't stand. Seriously, if I hear about somebody loving how or talking about how much they love the Dragon's Balls, I'm just going to be like, dude, what is wrong with you? I personally cannot stand that. It hasn't been good in 20 years plus. The son should have got better than the father, and they should have called it good, let the original character kick the bucket, and then watch the growth of the son. And then again, they could make it generational with his daughter, and then watch her growth become, and you go up step by step. That would have been a much better story, in my opinion. However, they were looking at the same culture that it comes from, and you're not allowed to be better than whoever is considered in charge, which is, we can go into the sociology of that later if somebody in the chat requests it, but holy flying donkey nuts, that just blows my mind, and it's no wonder that a lot of cultures are still held back. Another one, I know it's still out there, Eminescence of a Shadow. What in the flying hell is that? I can't stand that show. It has one good scene. Yes, I am atomic. And then they tried to do it twice. I'm like, dude, you captured lightning in a bottle. If you do this twice, you're crapping in a Pringles can. That's the big difference here. Okay, but it's the same thing. And I'm going by the anime alone, not the light novels. So don't lambaste me for not knowing the light novels. I just don't have the time to sit there and read them. If you go by the anime only, he actually says during that scene how he knows that he can transmigrate, however you want to call isekai, whatever it is. Every time he chooses to die, he can move to a different world. If he dies of natural causes or by accident, then he will remain in his own. He will simply be reborn. They even show him testing his own body against a nuclear weapon in the 1950s. This guy has no actual skin in the game. No wonder he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. He doesn't care because no matter what, he's just going to be reborn somewhere else and he gets to build up again, but he already knows how to do that. He's literally living eternity on easy mode. It's just, and I'm sitting there like, why should I care when there's no consequences? There's absolutely no consequences for anybody because every time one of his subordinates gets in deep shit, he jumps in there and goes, oh, I'll kick this guy's ass. I'm like, I'm sorry, but no, just no, just what? Just, I mean, seriously, I'd rather sit down with my nieces and watch another round of SpongeBob where I'm sitting there going, please make it stop. Please make it stop. The pink guy gives me a headache. What the? Hold on. So, along with that, I still don't know the appeal of One Piece. You guys are going to have to, somebody's got to explain that one to me because I don't get it. To me, it's mostly a cartoon. I can't get into it because to me, the characters are too goofy. If I want to watch goofy characters, I'll go watch South Park. And I'm sorry, I know people love One Piece. I know people love this Attack on Titan, which I'm just sitting there going, how far out in the ether are you going to go with this story? Because I can't see where the hell the narrative is anymore. And what that shows me is that they're grasping at straws. They're trying to keep people questioning, trying to keep people interested, but they're overdoing it. You got to be careful on that when you're making your own story. And especially those of you who draw, if you have too much going on in the picture, sometimes you lose something. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's good to have a lot of stuff going on. But if you're trying to sell a point, trying to make something, if you want people to focus on that one area, you can't have all this other stuff going on all over that's going to draw the attention away. And that's what they're doing is they're just trying to go farther and farther and farther and farther. Yeah, push the envelope. Dude, you've already opened the mail. How about you read the letter before you try to open more mail? What's going on, man? It's just, I don't get it. A lot of these, they go from being anime, which has a saga, a beginning, a middle, an end, which is what I liked about it, of most of them, to just an American cartoon where the very next episode, it didn't matter what happened. Everybody's back. You don't want that. American cartoons have gone to shit. Come on, they're crap. They're garbage. Anime is so much better. But come on. All right. My last topic before I jump into the chats over here is these are stories I would like to make. And I did get a couple requests from folks saying that they would like to know if I could actually create a story now. I'm not going to create the whole thing because that would be, well, I'd be here all night, especially one of these in particular. And I got two I'm going to be talking about. Don't worry, just two. And I'm going to buzz over one of them fairly quick because it's an existing IP and I could get in a little bit of trouble on this. Not that they want to go after an overtiree like me. That being said, I was actually asked to do something if I could save Transformers. And I love that the guy actually asked me this. Could I save Transformers? I was like, let me see what I can come up with. And what I came up with had him actually up on his, just like this, elbows staring at me like, dude, what happens next? What happens next? I'm just like, okay, first off, back up. Okay, we're all still deployed here. I'm sitting next to a loaded weapon. Back up, please. Because you're just getting beyond creepy. You like the girls in Japan. They're just creepy. Beautiful, but creepy. Anyways, the whole idea or the premise of the story is you have somebody who's about 10 years older than I am right now. They are just trying to live life because they grew up where they were just about old enough, not quite there, but just about old enough to go fight when the first Cybertronian War happened on Earth, which is the original 1984 series. I pulled from everything that I could to try and get some sort of cohesive narrative to have what actually happened and what didn't. Was I able to pull a little bit out of the Michael Bay universe? Not as much as I would like to. I wanted to have Grimlock in there so bad, but it's like chewing rubber. Anyways, the guy's just trying to get away because he's actually been dealing with Cybertronians his entire life. And oh, excuse me, hold on. Sorry, something stuck in there. Frog in my throat. What am I, Miss Piggy? Frog in my throat? What the fuck? Anyways, sorry, little bad joke there. Anywho's, the guy sees a ship come in. Now, the ship actually does come out of a space bridge, but he doesn't actually see a space bridge. All he sees is a trail of smoke. He's like, what in the hell is that? Well, it comes in and crashes at the very edge of his property. It actually destroys a bunch of his woodlands, comes to a rest, and he's like, what the hell was that? I got to go check it out. He gets there, and as he's looking through what looks like a normal survival pod for a standard-sized Cybertronian, he's like, these aren't standard Cybertronians. What is this? They're our size. What am I looking at? And he finds only one out of about a dozen that are still kicking. Now, since he's worked with Cybertronians, he knows what to do to patch it up. He's able to stop this thing from basically bleeding out. He drags it back to the house and is like, okay, Spill, dude, what are you doing here? First off, what's your name? And I was thinking, honestly, of having Cliff Jumper, but honestly, no matter what iteration, that dude's an asshole. But he finds out that a new type of transformer or Cybertronian that humans have never dealt with, the Minicons, are being hunted on Cybertron. Wow, what the hell is wrong with me tonight? Sorry about that, folks. It's just stuck in there. Anyway, the Minicons are being used the same way as in Transformers Armada, which is actually where I got the final piece to throw this together. The Minicons being used as a power boost. They're basically like, I don't know, Cybertronians' versions of meth. No, wait, that's Dark Energon. What did I say? No, Cybertronian version of crack. I mean, they just love it. It gives them this awesome feeling of power, more power. And because of that, the Minicons are being hunted by both the Decepticons and Autobots and Junkticons and Dinobots and Aerial Bots and, name a faction, they're being hunted because it gives that faction, that group, a bigger boost. So what's he do? He's got the folks in black show up. And one scene that actually, it took me a long time to write. I did write this part out, is where they actually showed up. He walks out to talk to him, and they're like, yeah, we heard there's some Cybertronians. We need access to your land. He's like, really? Why don't you tell me what's actually going on here? Oh, what are you talking about? He's like, well, here's what you're going to do. You're either going to tell me, or he pulls out a 45, puts it on this motorcycle, says, or I'm going to kill your Cybertronian right here. By the way, these are armor-piercing rounds tipped in magnesium. And actually, I did put the part where the front of the bike starts shaking. You would think like a bike at idle would be shaking, but this one's shaking just the front of it. It's actually scared. And they're like, how did you know? All the rest of your vehicles are black. This one is blue and pink. What did you think? They realize that he's not a freaking moron. Well, after a while, they collect the bodies, they collect the pod, they get whatever. Guy comes back, knows that the one he saved is there. And the kicker is the Cybertronian actually semi-merges. It's more like an exosuit. Now, don't get me wrong. I wrote this years ago, long before the suit that they used, the CGI suit in the Transformers movie, which they did a horrible job with. And the kicker is the memories kind of merge in with his brain because this Minicon, he's dying. He can't stop it. He's done. So he's trying to save a little bit. And so this guy's like, okay, I don't have this anymore. He's only got the exosuit for a little bit of time. It helps him out. It gets him all the way to the space bridge, and he has to break himself in. He breaks in to find out what in the hell is actually going on because he doesn't want his own species going to war with Cybertronians again over something stupid. It's not our dog, not our fight. So he's like, what the hell? Breaks in, gets in there, has to search around, and he's looking for a Decepticon. And if I remember correctly, it's not Windblade, it's Slipstream. It's the female aerial Decepticon, kind of like Starscream, but not that way. And the reason being is you find out that he actually saved her life back in like the second or third Cybertronian war. He specifically stopped his own guys from blowing her Cybertronian head off. So they sat there and for the long time and they would just talk while she healed up and then just kind of fucked off. Well, when he meets her, he actually calls her name and she's like, "What?" She's like, "Oh, hi. How you doing?" She doesn't have hair. She just goes through that motion. I remember writing that, and then I had a female friend of mine read it and she couldn't stop laughing. She's like, "Oh, that would be great." I'm like, "Yeah, if I could animate it, but I can't draw to save my balls. So, yeah, what am I going to do?" Anyway, they go on a search to see what in the hell is going on. She briefs him because she knows what the hell is going on, but he wants to see it for real. And then he's like, "Okay, let's go and see if we can save these guys, see if there's any way that my folks can help because I got connections. Maybe we can get them in the space bridge, get them to Earth, and save a couple of lives instead of them being stuck in servitude." Well, on the way there, they kind of get a little messed up and they end up going deep into Cybertron and meeting the actual core. I forget what the name of the core. Maybe somebody can put it in the chat box here. The actual name of the Cybertronian planet. It is a transformer, but it basically gives birth to all the smaller bots. In any case, they're so messed up that this thing is telling them, "Hey, I could save you. I could save her." And she's actually holding him. He's bleeding out in her hands, and she's actually leaking energon all over the place. They're both pretty much done at this point because, yes, they get screwed up by a bunch of Sharktacons. And simultaneously, he says, "Save her." She says, "Save him." They both pass out, and they both wake up, and they're like, "Oh, my God, I'm still alive. Are you okay? How come I got so big? Wait a minute, lady. No, how come I'm metal now? What the shit is going on?" And you come to find out that the spirit of since they can make their own Cybertronians, and he had energon poisoning already, he's got that permeating his system that they were able to actually create two different ones. And then it's just from there, it's okay, we're both mini-cons now. Let's go meet up with the other mini-cons. He's got to learn how to fly because he's an aerial bot too. And because they're both flying around and they're both mini-cons, they get chased a lot. They get helped out by Jetfire, who's trying to cover their ass because Jetfire is always the good guy. And there's actually a big scene where they're being chased by the aerial bots, and they're in the back, and Jetfire opens the back, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He drops a turret in front. He goes, "Light them up." He's like, just letting them go with that butterfly trigger. Just like behind the good old Ma Deuce, just do. Just let that sucker fly. And then Jetfire takes a hit. He's like, "You got to go." And she jumps out, and the guy character actually turns, gives a salute, and then jumps out just like Special Forces guys do. I've been around those guys enough times, and they do some goofy stuff. I've seen them flip people off. I've seen them salute. I've seen them do backflips out the back. I've seen one of them dive out the side door just for shits and giggles. I was like, did he even hook up before he jumped out? Screw it. Green light, go. And we're out the door. But eventually, they find the Minicon resistance. They've been able to build up their own little fort, but they're under fire the whole time. And they're getting shit from every direction. The Autobots, the Decepticons, everybody wants a piece of them. And they're more than willing to kill off the Minicons to stop anybody else from getting them. So that it's a big mess. And eventually this guy makes one call through the space bridge. And he actually calls up with his name and rank. And he's like, "We need support." And through my mind, I could hear the Sabaton song, "When the Winged Hussars Arrive," as the message is sent. And within 24 hours, the space bridge. Is actually several on Cybertron. They all turn on. First things first, here comes a bunch of F-22s and F-15s, F-16s, Mirages, Gripens, and all sorts of stuff coming through the one base on the ground. Here comes a bunch of armor support, and they start fucking things up and kind of save their ass. And it's a huge thing, huge battle. Problem is they're running through the space bridge. The guy's trying to bring everybody through. His woman is on the other side, and she gets freaked out because next thing she knows, she sees the body going like right through the bridge. He took a shot right into the chest. Now, the thing is, Cybertronians don't die. They go into stasis lock. Thank you, Beast Wars, for helping us out on that one. And there's a whole big thing about they're trying to keep the minicon safe. And anybody who can make a music video on that is the Frozen Sleep one. For what was that, for Halo? Somebody did that. Beautiful song, by the way. And she's like freaking out. She wants him to come back, and eventually he heals enough to come back. And then there's a stand like, hey, humanity now has minicons on our side, and we want you Autobots, Decepticons, the rest of you Cybertronians to do what the chickens say, fuck off, get away from us, you stay away from our planet. You've screwed it up enough. We don't want anything to do with you. Go away. And yeah, that's the way that one goes. That's a very broad overview. If I could make that into a series, I would love it. But I need visuals. I can't talk enough to actually have all the little minute details. I need some really good artists to put that one together, because I can't do animation. I told you, I can't draw. I can create stories. I can write, but that's it. That's what I'm good at. At least I hope I'm good at it, because, we got people watching. So I'm assuming I'm somewhat good. So anyways, that's the Transformers one. As far as all the other little details on that, I can't really spoil anything, because, again, if I did the thing from start to finish, I'd be here for 3.5, 4 hours trying to explain every little detail. I will say, when it's made, I will be asking Sabaton if they can sponsor it and let us use Metal Machine, for the love of God, and somebody make a music video, and we would hold a contest. All right. The other story I would like to make, again, this would be better off as a manga. Comics, maybe not, because it would be more on the lines of Sin City if this was actually made into a manga. It is an isekai. Yes, I know those are very common, but this one is extremely dark, and you'll see why as I get into it. Now, the character actually doesn't get hit by truck coon or train coon or bus coon or whatever coon that hits him. I know that's a big trope nowadays. The guy doesn't remember how he died. All right. He thinks he's dreaming. He's like, oh, I'm lucid dreaming again. Oh, crap, I can't move. Oh, shit. Oh, no, not sleep paralysis again. I hate sleep paralysis. Okay, maybe I can take a deep breath and wake up. Wait a minute, I can't breathe. No, I am breathing. Why am I not breathing, but I'm breathing? What the hell's going on? Oh, it's so tight. It's so tight. It's so tight. Why am I? Oh, man, I can't move. Is that screaming? Why am I hearing screaming? Whoa, what am I, sliding down a pool? What's going on? And, stay with me, because I'm actually going through the lines, by the way. And it's like, oh, what the hell? Oh, shit, that's bright. Who's screaming? What's with all the screaming? What is that? German? French? Tagalog? Sounds like, I don't know, what is that? Chinese wrapped in a wet fart? Somebody talking? What the hell is that? Oh, man, it's so bright. Man, it's so cold. Now, this is why I need a manga for that. Because when the guy opens his eyes, what he's looking at ain't exactly human. At least not many of them. It's an amalgamation of different creatures. He's questioning, what in the hell is going on? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? Why is there such lights? Why is it so freaking cold in here? And then he looks over, and the way he's positioned, he can open his eyes just enough to see that he has just been born. He's, in fact, still attached to the woman. Well, the woman. And he spends probably a good 1 or 2 chapters trying to figure out what in the hell is going on. Well, here's what's going on. Spoiler alert, but I'm not actually going to spoil too much. You find out that he was forcibly drawn in because it's a magical experiment. In that world, all different species, there's no actual lines between them. Usually there's not many mates between different species, which kind of limits them. However, when there are a mix of species, usually there's some sort of anomaly that happens. Different powers, different abilities come out. So what they're doing is these governments are forcibly bringing women in to be impregnated, but they're not doing what you think they're doing. Hold on, before you freak out. What they're doing is, at least for this character, they have taken a succubus, merged it with an incubus, so the body itself is physically stable. If they didn't do that, it would be more spiritual, but they need to merge the two. They've done surgery to remove the parts they don't need, which is why you actually hear the guy going, why does she have a huge scar on her gut or low on her gut? What the hell's going on? They've injected her with phoenix blood, not phoenix tears, phoenix blood. This is very important. And they've used dragon DNA to impregnate her. But because they're mixing so much, they found out that the baby comes out still. So to create a child that's able to survive, because there's so much going on, they need to actually summon a soul from another dimension or universe or world, however you want to put that one. And there the guy is. He doesn't even know what he is. He doesn't even see himself in a mirror for at least 3 chapters. He doesn't know what's going on. All he knows is that this woman, again, I got to put that in quotes because she's a different color. 2, she's got horns. 3, you find her with a tail. 4, you find her wings have been ripped off, which I can't imagine could be very fun because they look like they were literally ripped off. It's just crazy. And she doesn't even want anything to do with him. In fact, for him to eat, she has to be put in 8-point restraints, 2 on each appendage, just to hold her down so he can get something to eat. She doesn't want anything. And he's actually says the line, I don't know why you're freaking out. You can't say I'm not your kid. We're attached, you dummy. You know, he's waving his arms like we're attached, but he's not actually moving because he's an infant at this point. And you find out what he is and what he's capable of, along with others who are born in that area. It's exceptionally dark because if they're considered a failed experiment, the child is immediately, even if it's right in front of the mother. She could be holding on to it. It's like a scene of Game of Thrones. You know, there's the kid, there's the mother, fucker, you know, eviscerate it right there. It's again, it's very, very dark. Now, am I going to go into absolute craziness on what this guy can do? No. Why? Because I want to leave that up to a little bit of, if this comes out, I want to actually read it. You know, kind of have to make the money on that. But you got to remember, a lot of you guys, if you're going to do dark stories like that, where your first person view in particular, you can't just explain what's going on. People who are reading have to figure it out. To do that, it's a lot easier when you have a visual medium so they can get a little bit more information than what you're actually saying, which is why I would only do that story if it's in comic or manga format. I'd love to do it on this channel. Unfortunately, it's just, it wouldn't fly. A lot of people will get maybe a minute in and go, what the hell is he talking about? I don't even know what the hell is going on. So, you know, it is what it is. By the way, the child isn't exactly, how do I put this? Well, it looks humanoid. I'll give it that much, but things are kind of messed up. And the fact that they realize he is not a failed experiment, is a big, big deal. So anyway, that is the end of my notes. Let me get myself a drink here because we've been going for just under 40 minutes. And now, since I'm done with these notes, oh yeah, and all the rest of the notes when it comes to Man Machine, all my wonderful chicken scratch here that we got. Yeah, I got to make like 6-7 pages of these just to make a decently long video for you guys and actually get out the information I need to. There's been several times I've actually finished up, my hand is stuck because I got sitting there holding the pen and I'm like, I can't move my fingers. Ouch. Maybe people here like hearing me in pain. I don't know. Anyway, let me scroll up so I can get things going. Not a lot in the chat box today, but I have seen it scrolling up. Let's see. Good evening. Yeah, good evening, Sniper. Hello there. I'm not going to be able to pronounce that. Z sold to... Yeah, I'm not even correct. Hello, Mr. Sin. Mr. I did not spend 20 years in the army to be called Mr. Yeah, I'm just kidding. You can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. How are you? I'm enjoying the new series, Man or Machine. I look forward to waking up on a morning. I'm having my coffee, listening to your new episode. And yes, there is one coming out tonight. So, Fabian, one more thing to look forward to. Hello, thank you very much. Love the new series. Oh, I'm glad you like it. What's going on in the world, Sin? That's a loaded question. That's a lot of stuff going on in the world. We got, let's see, Russia trying to get the breadbasket of the entire Asian continent still. They're using Chinese weapons that are falling apart or fail to fire, which is costing them a lot. The other side is just running out of people. They've burned through everybody so far, and all the lines have pretty much stabilized. Either they don't have the weapons or they don't have the personnel to shoot each other. And now we got another mess going on farther east from there. And now you got more and more people sticking their nose in it. We got all sorts of craziness going on over here because of that, which I'm seriously waiting for something to happen around here because I'll just butt stroke somebody. You block the road, I'm going to get out and start swinging. Either that or I'm just going to run your ass over. Get out of the road. You can wave your flag on the side of the road. You can say everything you want on the side of the road. You can wave your banner on the side of the road. Just get the fuck out of the road. So, and everything, the thing is the whole world's going crazy because even in South America, Venezuela is going for a new oil-rich country. Yay! So, yeah, when it comes to oil, we all want to stick our noses in that one. So, yeah, that's what's going on in the world, and that's an extremely brief overview, and that's where everything has gone to shit. So, I saw what you did with the last episode of Man and Machine. On the end, you referenced the ultimate ambush. Yeah, I kind of did. As that was the Easter egg at the end. I like to throw a bunch of Easter eggs in there, especially with phrases from people who are smarter than me. The old guys always have something better. Like John Wayne, he did the line, "Life is hard. It's harder if you're stupid." Things like that. I love putting those in because they are words to live by. They are truly words to live by. And I like sharing them. So, I'm sure you got their War Sniper. I'm sure you got some of the other references. I was actually hesitant to do a whole "get off my lawn," but yeah, I stuck with "hippity hoppity, get off my property." Excuse me. A little shout out on that one to Text Talk BattleTech. He hasn't done a lot with BattleTech lately, but when he does, I'm first one to listen because he does a really good job. Let's see. Fabian says, yeah, the Orville was a bit shit. Not when it started. It started well. It did. I don't know what woke douche nozzle got into that, but whoever it is needs to be kicked in the ovaries and thrown out in airlock because they need to just go away. I'm sorry. When I saw the whole, everybody saw the whole battle where they were trying to get the super weapon back. And all I could say is, who the hell sends an assault team with, what was it, a robot, 3 or 4 skinny skinny girl. I mean, seriously, I could pick them up with one hand and throw them. I don't care if they're armed. You're not going to run that far on those tiny little bird legs. And you did have the one badass who was in there, but that's it. And then, of course, somebody sacrificed themselves because, look at, what the hell they call those? Mary Sue. Look at Mary Sue there. She sacrificed herself. And you're not going to convince me she's not a Mary Sue because she checked off all the woke boxes. And when you do that, you become a Mary Sue regardless of what your character does. So, yeah, I had trouble enjoying that scene. The fight scene was great, but a lot of it, again, Newtonian physics, folks. It was all about like there's an atmosphere in space. The only thing in space is the ether, and the ether is too damn thin. There's no actual, you don't maneuver like an aircraft. But still, it was a fun watch. The rest of the whole thing was just bad. Oh, God, it was just bad. And yeah, when the XO has more lines than the main character, something's wrong. Something's just wrong. I could see that happening like once every third show, but every single show, there are people out there who've actually checked the lines. She's got like 5 times the line he does, and he came up with the damn show. So, okay. Down a little further. Wow, okay. Having trouble say this one. Henna Kimono? Henai Kimono? I know that probably means something else, but I don't know what it is. Orville was still more Star Trek than modern day Star Trek. Absolutely. When they started, they had the essence of Star Trek Next Generation, which, as far as I'm concerned, was probably the best they had. Those actors did everything they did because they wanted to be good on the show. The writing was pretty solid. It fumbled, don't get me wrong, but it holds up. And you got something that people still enjoy watching 30 years later. It holds up. It's like Seinfeld. It holds up. People still watch Friends. People still watch Home Improvement. Those shows hold up. If you got a show that holds up after that long, you got something. But the Orville people toss it away like they do with modern, or like the Babylon 5 ripoff of Trek, or Star Trek Voyager. Ugh, God, what a pile of shit. But yeah, the Orville has done a much better job. I'm going to mispronounce that. Is it Jorgen or Eugen? Jurgen. What is that, Dutch? Anyways, you're amazing, dude. All right. Hey, I'll take it. Lee says, we had to show off for the crowd in the Galactic War Games is all. Oh, you talking the fusion drive. Yeah. Originally, that was the whole thing about that. And when I said how they came down and they were just playing with the torches, trying to show off a little bit, that I do have to say, it was somebody in the comments, they mentioned how a fusion torch can be used as a weapon. And they said the Kzinti War. I had to find out what in the hell that meant. And then it hit me like a bag of bricks. It was a video game back in the day. So I looked it up, and sure enough, yeah, he was right. Especially in Zero G, a fusion torch is just scary. You don't want to be anywhere near it. It will literally melt down a battleship in seconds. At least go through the plating. The whole battleship might take a minute. Let's see. Fabian says, I would like more narrative of encounters between characters in your story over just the overlay of what's happening. Okay. The thing with Fabian on that one, those are going to be one-off stories. When it's a full series, if I had to do all the conversations, it would take me a year to finish. It's just absolutely insane the amount of personnel you'd have to talk to, because you got to figure you have just in the beginning of Man and Machine, when they started going out and started taking one sector at a time, when there's several hundred to take, you had the commander, you had the battleship captain, you had all the captains of the cruisers, destroyers, frigates, and so on. You had the drop troops. Along with that, they got their own way of talking, their own way of thinking. I'd have to remind myself of the different dialects of each one. especially going from branch to branch like that. It would be nice if you could, yeah. But again, I would need a lot of help doing that, and it would take a very, very long time. And I'm just giving a cursory overview. We're not even talking about the ensigns talking about what's going on, the difference in just random conversations about what's going on back home compared to what's going on the front lines. The different Xeno groups. I'd have to break them down, and I'd have to talk about each individual one, break down their different cultures, how they work with each other, how they're designed. Again, there's a lot of detail that goes on with that, Fabian. It would be nice if I could do that. I just do not have the time. It would take me probably 2 weeks to do one story or one video because of so much information that would be in there. It would just be crazy. However, one-off stories, I have no problems. Just like one of my first big hits was if a human brings a knife to a gunfight, run. And that was literally just Xeno sitting in a bar talking. Back and forth, they were just talking. And that one really kicked over. I'm sure some of you remember that one. But yeah, those take a long time, which is why a lot of these books take a long time. Some people can type 60 words a minute, but when you got to put all that stuff in, it's like writing the Encyclopedia Britannica. Yeah, I'm dating myself on that one. Yeah, that's how old I am. Let's see. Lego Fleet Battle says, "Yo, Sin, in the new Man and Machine video with the part when you say only 3% of humans and like 1% of the Navy, I felt like that came out of nowhere. I know you skip a lot of years, but saying 3%, it feels like the humans have hundreds of billions. They kind of do. The reason being is at this point, if you listen, they have their colonies, they have their outer sector, they have their core worlds, they have their stations, they have the mining operations. These are spread out over a long ways. You got to figure if you have, we'll say 3 planets, just to make the math simple, and each planet has, say, 6 billion on it. What does that come out to? 18 billion already. And you got to figure humans at this point, now I didn't reference it specifically, but you're looking at 30, 40, possibly 50 different sectors that they're covering. And they just been in a spot where they could spread out. I talked about that in the beginning. Their Earth was fairly close, but all the stuff on the other side of what the factions were coming from was pretty much vacant. And humans could just spread out way off that way. And let's face it, you give us plenty of food and plenty of room, we're going to reproduce like rabbits in heat. I mean, just crazy. Everybody's going to be, breaking the bed springs. So, yeah, humans just kind of blew up in population on that one. And we weren't exactly wiped out on that one either. And, after 20 or 40 years, you're going to triple, quadruple the amount of folks. Now, don't forget they have a lot of reliance on AI. So it's they're plussing up their numbers. So 3%, they could be running basically what we would consider a skeleton crew on a destroyer, and all the rest of everything's being done by robots. Most of your maintenance is done that way. Nobody said that the damage control teams were human. Those could be like in that I want to say crappy Avatar movie, but they both kind of suck. The new one where all the buildings were being built by these insect-looking robots. Well, who says you can't use something like that to patch your ship while you're in the middle of a firefight? So let's see. Fabian said, the Transformer story needs to be a cartoon or film. Have you actually written this and your story list? I started on this one. I got to the point where he's about to enter the space bridge, and he actually, at that point, has to shoot his way in because they basically tell him to go to hell. You can't come in, especially when he's carrying a long gun with him. They're just like, no way, you're not coming in, you're not going there, you don't have authorization, even though they've allowed civilians to pass by. This is a military operation, yada 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 yada. all that other fun stuff. And that's a whole big scene I was kind of in the middle of, and I actually stopped right as he was running into the space bridge as it was warming up, because once it reaches a certain point, you can't shut it off. It just has to continue. Yeah, the rest of that is stuck up here, and I just haven't been able to get it out. I've been trying to get it out, man, and it hurts, man. It's in there. No, it's not there. Okay. Let's see. Ava says hi. Ava again. I got something regarding mechs. From what I've studied, tanks thrive in open field, hilly terrain, desert, and Antarctic conditions. Basically the same thing. But struggle in forests, mountainous terrain, and urban combat. It depends on the hilly terrain. Some of that stuff, because of the hills, you might have some areas that are cut out. It is very terrain dictated as far as that. Now, most mechs, they would just step over it, and there's absolutely no issue there. And in regards to most battle mechs, light ones would have the jump jets where they could go, 100 meters, 200 meters on a jump, and they're like, what linear danger area? What are you talking about? Let's see. As far as open field, now the kicker is tanks, except for one or two times, have never just charged across an open field. Now, let me get a drink and I'll go in there. The reason is you are the biggest target, which means you're the primary target, which means that's why the tankers always say it's a game of cat and mouse. You're always trying to get an angle. If you ever played paintball, you're always trying to get that angle on somebody. You're never going straight forward. You're always trying to get the angle on somebody so you can, pop one in their foot or tag one right in their ass, which, by the way, is funny to watch a 300-pound guy go, fuck. And it's just hysterical. Those of you who play airsoft know, I'm sure you've seen it. But going straight across open field is just crazy. The reason they want open field is they want their target out in the open so they can get a good shot at it. As far as desert's concerned, the reason they work so well is because, one, they're painted brown, so they're difficult to see unless you have some sort of air support with FLIR, also known as thermal. In that case, they glow like a flare, and they're very easy targets to any aircraft. So very few times you'll find a tank commander that wants to actually stick their nose out in open area. And if you don't mind me using my own stuff from when I was in Korea, because we pissed the tankers off something fierce. We ambushed them, and this is Miles gear, so it's basically laser tag. We ambushed the shit out of them. We surprised them. They're running into their tanks. They're trying to spin them up. We haul ass to the other side. We had to run down the steep embankment, run up the other side. The tank comes flying down the road. We lob our smoke grenades, which are supposed to simulate real grenades. We hear them clanging off the side of the hull. The driver's freaking out. He revs that sucker up as fast as it'll go. It takes off. The next one comes up. He tries to swing his gun. He can't elevate it high enough. And we're just sitting here like, sucker. And eventually, we wait till they go back. We ambush them again, but this time we take off in another direction. They call in support, and their other tank platoon, which is 4 of them, comes flying across the other side in the open field. I'm sitting there screaming for the radio. The guy with the radio jumps in a hole. I'm like, oh, great. And these guys within range, I dive into a hole, and I'm screaming at these guys as I'm laying on my back with my weapon off my chest, barrel sticking out this way. And I'm screaming, what's the matter? Can't you hit me? You missed. And I'm sure the guy on top could hear me because I could hear him cursing up a storm. They were firing the main gun because they actually have a speaker that simulates the sound. But if the flash doesn't hit you, then your vest doesn't go off. And eventually, one of my guys walked up. I grabbed him. I'm like, get down. Pulled him down. I hear the kaboof go off again. And the thing is, by the time they back away, they only back away because they realized we had air assets now. And they said, oh, shit. They had to freaking take off back to their starting position because it was the only place they had any type of cover and concealment. and we got a chance to run. I wasn't sticking around. We had them so confused they ended up shooting at each other. So it really does. Terrain does dictate on that. Now, as far as again, desert, they can cross a lot of area very fast, and they can reach out and touch someone. Same thing with Arctic and Antarctic, because it's basically a desert. As far as forests are concerned, the reason they hate it is because they cannot traverse their gun without hitting something. Mountainous terrain, like I said, they have trouble elevating their cannon and sometimes lowering it enough. A lot of those areas give us, the infantry, the ability to sneak up, and they hate that. They hate that. It's worse in urban terrain. It's horrible. That's why no tank commander, unless they're called forward, will never bring their tank inside an urban environment. If you guys see that on a movie, laugh at them for being stupid, because there's no way in shit you want to do that. You want to engage at maximum range and keep the enemy as far back as possible, because they can't freaking see. Their porthole is this freaking big. Their thermal and their sensors is only a little bit bigger. So, okay, that's my tank rant for tonight. Now, let's see. Next part. Mechs thrive in urban, mountainous terrain. They sort of do. Only certain mechs would survive in urban terrain. Ones that can move really quick and turn down an aisle real quick. Basically, the smaller the mech, the better you are on that one. Because all the small areas where somebody can jump out and shoot a missile in your mouth is not a fun thing. Let's see, mountainous terrain. Yep, they do just fine there if it's not covered in a whole bunch of trees. Forests become an issue. I know in BattleTech they don't make forest a big issue, but trying to walk through big trees like that, you're going to have a lot of trouble that mech trying to get stable, especially on an incline or decline. It is what it is. Let's see, struggle on open field combat. Actually, no, mechs are suited for that because they're higher. Because they sit higher, they can look across the battlefield much better. Most mechs are very tall, very tall. Most medium mechs would step on a tank. I mean, they're just, or not medium, sorry, heavies their foot is about the 2/3 the side of a tank, if I remember correctly. And that's average. Yeah. Where'd the chat go? I'm suddenly discussing foot size. What the hell, man? Oh, shit. What's wrong with me? Anyways, but because they're so high, they're able to basically command the battlefield. And because they're so high, they are able to fire out further, allowing their support units, their tracks, their tanks, their other vehicles, their infantry to continue forward to get close enough to use their weaponry. And they're just supporting each other. Because you never, just like a tank, you never send it by itself. A mech always goes with support. If you go out there with support, there's only one group that does that, and not, that's infantry. We go out there regardless. Okay, let's see. Ava continues. The mechs I'm referring to are Titans from Titan. Those are not mechs from Titanfall. And tanks, from what I can see, would support mechs in their terrain of choice. And the same for mechs when tanks are in their favorite terrain. Okay, first off, the mechs from Titanfall fall under mecha. Mecha is like saying vehicle. An Abrams tank is a vehicle. So's a Prius, but I wouldn't put the two together. The mecha from Titanfall is an exosuit. Because when you're supposed to move, the suit moves with you. An actual battle mech is different. If you're talking about another mecha that's as big as a battle mech, but it's following you, real mechs do not have what's known as a body pilot. That makes a mecha into a oversized exosuit. I know they want to say it's a command couch in there, but I'm sorry, you do not have enough buttons and switches to do the movements that they're showing. It just doesn't happen. Would they support each other? Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. And depending on the mission, it would be which one is the decisive effort. Yes, that is how it's said. The decisive effort would be whichever group is chosen, whether it's be the exosuits, the battle mechs, the tanks, whatever. Everyone else falls under one word: support. Okay, infantry doesn't like being support to anybody. We really don't. but we understand because sometimes we need the big ass gun that somebody's going to roll up and turn somebody's pretense into a past tense. And but yeah, you always maximize to your weapon system. Terrain dictates everything. In regards to space combat, there's very little terrain, which is why unless you're some sort of stealth rigged with some sort of electromagnetics, you're seen from so far away, and that's why fighters in space make very, very little sense unless you have a planet that's just surrounded by a debris field that's just everywhere. Okay, hold on. Let me Fabian says, I'm thinking humanoid, featherin, draconian. Which type of draconian? Because a lot of people call that different. Are you talking about the dragon based or are you talking about the demon based? I don't know which one you're talking about. I don't know where that's going. I think you maybe I'm just missing the reference here, Fabian. Sorry, but the only humanoid feathery creature I had was New Life in the Stars, and that's when the feathery Xeno actually bought the main character by the hour and was a little pissed that the character wasn't female. Actually, he was beyond pissed. But yeah, it's the only one I'm thinking of. Okay, Ava says, mechs would fill the role of logistics and support, i.e. repairs. Tanks would support mechs by towing material and fire support. Okay, I'm not sure which type of mechs you're talking about. Are you talking BattleTech type of stuff? Because they don't really have the ability to do that. Certain ones, sure. But I think you're talking more on the exosuits, the actual smaller ones on that, allowing you to lift up entire 205 rounds by yourself and loading them into the gun and actually slamming them forward by yourself. That would make sense. Being able to have two of these guys grab the side of an Abrams, lift it up so you can put the road wheel on the Chinese tank after it fell off. That would make sense. Yes, absolutely. As far as towing material, I've worked with the 88. That's the recovery vehicle for the Abrams tank. There is no exosuit that we could create that's going to have enough ass to pull that. I mean, that thing was 86 ton. And it's just crazy. And they have to basically lift it in the air to get it to move. It's crazy what that thing's capable of. I've seen that thing quite literally, if you pardon the pun, tank an IED and just keep rolling. And the guys inside didn't even know they were hit. It was crazy. They thought one of the pads on their tracks had just gone bad. And they're like, oh, we got hit? Oh, fuck it. It's okay. As far as an actual battle mech pulling a tank, yes, it could. Anything heavy or bigger as far as mech classes. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I enjoy the confusion my name makes. Yeah, thanks, dude. I only speak two languages well, English and bad English. That's it. No, I do speak infantry, but I'd get kicked off YouTube if I did that. Let's see. Topic from, I'm just going to call you Z1 because there's no way in hell I'm going to pronounce that. Just like I used to say with the trainees. If I mispronounce it, I don't care. Okay, from Z1. Topic, humanity returning to an empire form of government in sci-fi in a lot of stories. Not in yours, just in general. Why and how realistic, in my opinion? Okay. As far as Imperials go, as far as different, and they are basically factions, go, the socialistic system of kings and queens is pretty much the most simple there is. If you're starting off in any new planet, new area, kings and queens are going to be the easiest way to do it. And it just makes things a whole lot faster. Now in sci-fi, just like in real life, if you have a group that has been named the king, queen, empire, empress, duke, pick your stupid name at this point, Caesar even. Do you really think they're going to give up that power, that authority ever? No, they're going to want to pass that down because this is human nature. You want to pass everything down to your children. And that's how it all came about. Just like the Caesar was never meant to be in charge of Rome. They gave him emergency powers, just like the Palpatine there. He just never gave it up. And unlike Palpatine, the Caesar was willing to pass it down to their child. And that would be a name given to the next one in line. Would that possibly happen on a new planet? In times of conflict or desperation, yes. And the thing is, here in the real world, there are certain people that want to go back to that. They are salivating. It's the type of people who watch Game of Thrones and fondle themselves for different reasons than the Ghibli poofs that are on the screen. It's just this is what they want. They want 120% complete control of people, and they will do anything. They will make the rest of humanity go to war with each other if that meant by the end they have what they call total control over everything, which is bullshit. Control is an illusion. Okay, Game of Thunder, the movie Days of Thunder, that was the only good line in that whole god awful movie. Well, no, I shouldn't say it. Some of them were fun, but when the lady was freaking out when she said, "You don't have control. Control is an illusion. It doesn't happen." You think you control something. Nobody ever controls anything. You guide things in a direction. You never control it. And the more you try to control, the more you're going to lose your grip on it, which is why even in Star Wars, when they said the more you tighten your fist, the more things slip through your fingers, pretty much, yeah, you lose control because everyone's going to fight back. You just have to guide things in a certain direction. That's the best you got. Could it happen? Yeah. But what's going to happen is the same thing that happens with all the rest. Eventually, people get sick and tired of somebody saying, "Hey, you think your bloodline's so goddamn special? Prove it." "Oh, you can't prove it? Fuck you." And then you have rebellions. And, then you have, after a couple of generations, of course, even in Battletech, they even had, after a few generations, some idiot got up there and ruined the whole thing. Got suckered by some fat guy who wears a bib. But after a few generations, you got people who've just grown up thinking they're better than everybody else, and their bloodline is the only one that needs protected. They don't care if yours is completely severed. They never care. So I only say this because that's the mentality, okay? When you actually look into this type of subject, when it comes to people wanting to be kings and queens and the super rich and everything, you find out they are excessively tribalistic. Holy crap, to a degree that most of us cannot understand. Okay, when it was explained to me, I still didn't understand it. I had to see it with my own eyes. And seriously, when somebody actually says, "You don't have the right to talk to me," and I was like, "Why?" "You don't come from whatever stock, whatever the hell. It was some stupid name I don't even remember." And I'm just like, "What? Dude, you better change your tone or I'm going to friggin' rearrange your face." The guy's security showed up, didn't realize I'm surrounded by my buddies. They're outnumbered at least 4-1. I'm like, this is not a good way to go, guys. And by the way, don't reach for that friggin' pistol underneath your belt. You make one move and the guy behind you is going to shove his knife in your neck. And it wasn't just me. Believe me, we used to call him the Chihuahua because the dude couldn't shut up. He'd always right in your face. He'd always pick a fight. Little guy too. Why is it always the little guys? But yeah, you just to see the guy was like, "You're not." He did the whole shoo. Only one other person's ever done that to me. And when that guy went shoo in my face, I grabbed his arm, twisted it. Next thing you know, there's a fight. And that dude, he ran. He ran like a scared little girl. And honestly, I'm amazed none of us got shot. Because, yes, those guys were very, very armed. Security always is. And I do thank one of my trainers who was there because he took 2 of them down in like seconds. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, that was a fun aftermath on that. The only other one that did the shoe thing, her boyfriend told her, don't do that, because he saw the look in my eyes. Don't ever do that. Okay, that's enough of that one. War Sniper Gaming and L just was thinking that Hyperty, hippity hoppity, get off my property. Yeah. It's talking about the elastic defense, also known as the castle defense, and by the modern era, good old hippity hoppity, get the fuck off my property. And that's actually what's going on nowadays around the world, since we were talking current events before. A lot of people are doing that. Get off my lawn. And that's going to become a huge deal. Oh, we got a sea dog here. He's late. Do I need to take you to the hospital? You're late? No, sorry. That was a bad joke. That barely didn't. That took off about as good as a Chinese jet and just plunged into the ocean. Ava Clark saying, "Okay, my bad. Where's the rest of it? Your bad what? Your bad back? You got a bad back? You got bad knees? You got bad kidneys too?" Oh. I used to give trainees crap about that all the time. The first one, it was always the first day. They would say, and I would say, you screwed this up. My bad. You're bad what? Finish your freaking sentence. And they would freeze. They didn't know what to say. My bad. You're bad what? And as soon as I did that, of course, I had my campaign hat on, so I'm this close to their freaking head. And I'm right ready to knock them in the head, which you're not supposed to do anymore, but I did it anyway. Of course, like two of the drill sergeants, my bad what? Tell them. My bad, drill sergeant. I wouldn't have to say anything because those other guys would be like on his ears, screeching. What the fuck makes you think you can do better? You want to lead this platoon? What's wrong with you? Since when did you get any training? And they didn't even have to curse much. They just tore him down. I never understood the whole my bad. It just can't. I know where it comes from. People didn't want to say they're sorry. So, and which is why I never actually use that in my writing. It's an annoying phrase that I wish would go away. Nothing against you, Ava. I just don't like the phrase. Okay, Fabian says, Dragon Draconian. You was on about visual for story you want for comic Succubi Phoenix Dragon Cross. Yeah, pretty much. He doesn't see the things. I haven't quite decided what the look is going to be exactly. I know I have to have the demonic look. I have to have the slight dragon look, and I have to have something in the Phoenix now, but that doesn't have to be external. That could be something as simple as acidic blood, or maybe he farts fire. I don't know. I haven't really come up with that one yet. But something along those lines. The reason why, with that one in particular, it was the Succubi, Phoenix, and Dragon, is because those are three very, at least in Western lore, so to speak, those are three of the very biggest heavy hitters. Dragon, for obvious reasons, they're big, they're strong, they're just, the defensive measures on those things are just insane. They're almost impossible to pierce unless you know exactly where to hit. The Phoenix, the regeneration ability is just crazy, along with the power output on those things should never be underestimated. And the Succubi has always been known as a strong demon. It's one of the top 7 strongest demons ever. Actually, they all fall under the 7 deadly sins. And that's where you find the 7 strongest. Just like the actual slime monsters are gluttony incarnate. But those 3 ones, but you got to remember, the guy has a human soul, and that's going to play in a lot. So there's going to be actually human traits in there too, there, Fabian. So, I mean, if you can come up with something and you want to post it in the chat, by all means do so. And I will definitely put your name on that. And if I do the story, I'm going to throw that up there. I'll make sure you get it. So, yeah, Dragon Draconian. More like demonic draconian on that one. Let's see. Ava Clark, speaking infantry. Yeah, that's about right. If you actually are wondering, just go on YouTube and say, learn how to speak infantry or how they speak infantry. And it's only about a minute long video. And believe me, they nail it perfectly. We're pretty much the only people that can curse 15 times in a 12-word sentence. Sea Dog says, "Man, a machine rocks." And then he went back to Ava and goes, "Told you." You told her? Anyway, hold on. Getting a little. Let's see. Ava says, "My mech analysis was bad. I should have added that to clarify." Okay. Don't take it personal, Ava. A lot of people get this messed up. Okay. I've been dealing with mech and mecha in stories for decades now. So for me, this is old hat. For you, this is going to be a little bit more difficult. You got to specify. Even something as simple as, like I was saying, with the Xenos I talk about, if you want to get specific and make sure everybody's on the same page, you have to clarify their society, their evolution, their technology, their physiology. That's a huge one. Their language. That's why I kind of joked around hearing some people talk, at least with Xenos, you wouldn't know if they're belching, puking, or farting. And it's just like, what the hell are they saying? Max mixed with clicks and whale songs. You know, you're like, what the hell's that? Yeah. You don't know what they're saying. So don't take it personal there. As far as mech goes, just if you're doing mech, just make sure it's a mech. And if you're not sure, just put mech because then just put an A at the end, MECHA, and you're good. That's literally covering all of them. If you want to talk about a specific one, narrow it down. Okay, War Sniper. You can do his regeneration of the Phoenix or Flaming Wings. Yeah, the regen portion would definitely have to be there. As far as Flaming Wings, I don't know if I want to do anything that flamboyant. Sorry, that was low-hanging fruit, guys. I had to do that. There was one other that was actually the inspiration for this isekai, which was a different one where in their world you actually summon creatures to be your familiars 3 times, and one when you're 5, one when you're 10, one when you're 15, if you live that long. But the kicker is, if you summon something powerful, the government wants it, and the only way to get it is you have to surrender it, or they have to kill you and capture it. So there's a whole thing, because the reason for those 3 actually was it was the same 3 the guy summoned. When he was 5 years old, he summons a succubus, but she's a child. She's like a 1-year-old child, and he takes her in as his little sister. He summons the Phoenix next, but the Phoenix freaks out when everyone tries to run in and grab it, and it goes into its astral form and actually goes in and merges with him. It actually becomes part of him. And he summons the dragon at 15, and that's when he's like, okay, fuck it, I'm out of here. If this is going to happen again, I'm going to run, because I'm not having my people taken from me. That one I just thought was going to be a little too cliche. That's why I didn't do it. Fabian says, okay, thanks. I'll have a good think. Well, I'm going to have a good drink right now. Okay. Z1 is back. I heard and read something along the lines, the only thing we learn from history is that we don't learn from history. Are we fated to repeat the old mistakes, or are there in the stars, in your opinion? Or are they out in the stars? Okay. The reason we don't learn from history is not taught. A lot of people forget a simple phrase, and if I had my other channel up and running, I would have gone over this a lot, is you have to learn history. You have to learn from the past, just like you learn from your mistakes. But you always look to the future, because all you can do is learn from your mistakes and move on. If the mistakes are not learned, they're doomed to be repeated. And that is just the simple truth of it. That's all. There's no other thing from that. Could we learn from history? Yes, if we are able to learn. When I was young, we didn't have the History Channel. Cable was barely a thing. Yes, I know I'm that fucking old. Now you guys not only have the History Channel, you have YouTube with things like that chubby Sparky who talks about the Rapid Dragon and Sergeant Reckless and all that stuff, where you can learn all this history, and it's entertaining. It's actually fun to watch, and you can actually learn from history. A lot of histories are hidden from us because certain people don't want us to learn. Most of you out there, I guarantee, do not know the history of the Knights Templar. A lot of people, the only thing they know about it, it was from one of those assassin games. And I think the Knights Templar were supposed to be the bad guys. No, they were hunted down because they were financially smart. And that's an extremely basic overview of it. It is what it is. Now, when we actually reach out into the stars, one of the best ways to actually learn from your own mistakes is if we are able to reach out and use the technology that has been hidden from us. By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Dr. Greer. He's on the Sean Ryan show and a whole bunch of other stuff. He does excellent work, and he brings receipts. So that's a big deal. Certain technologies would allow us to live pretty much indefinitely, except for a random act of violence. Basically, just an accident could still, end you because, let's face it, technology only goes so far. I did touch on that technology in Man and Machine when they actually were able to take people who have been spaced, bring them back into a regeneration area and actually bring them back to themselves. But they're going to remember all that shit. They're going to start losing their freaking mind if that happens too many times. They're just going to start just freaking the hell out and just say, fuck it, bang, bad shit. But yeah, we can learn from history if we live a bit longer and we teach the history to others. That's the only way to learn. Okay, sorry about my side rant, folks. That was, let's see. Ava says, more used to space combat tactics than ground-based combat at this point, so I needed to do more study on that. Yeah, well, the thing is, I hear a lot of people saying that as long as you control the space, you control the planet. Well, that's a whole bunch of hogwash. I mean, that is just a big pile of BS right there. Because if the ground does not surrender, what are you going to do? Just slag the planet? Then you destroy exactly what you're trying to get. It doesn't make sense. Now, as far as you're dealing with ground-based combat, and if you're looking in sci-fi in particular, it's not ground-based combat, it's atmospheric. Because anything from fighter aircraft and bombers all the way down to the people literally dug down into the dirt, there's so many levels built up into that. I mean, case in point, when you're talking about fighter aircraft, you're going to have surface-to-air missiles that'll be fired off. Nasty stuff. A lot of those things hit really hard. A lot of the old systems can't track for nothing. But at the time, they're shooting the F-4 Phantoms, which have the dog-fighting capacity of a brick. I mean, it's terrible. So, you got to just go through each and every level. I tried to touch on that one, Ava, when I was doing Man and Machine, how they actually had to mitigate all that by using the drone fleet to try and clear out the air support, using the decoys to try and draw fire away from the pods and, Corvettes and stuff coming down. But you also had the chaff to block everything. You had the flares to catch ordnance coming up. You had the sides of the pods ripping off, and they're glowing hot. So they're going to, give any type of FLIR system Tourette's from trying to figure out what the hell they're supposed to be shooting at. It's all these different layers, especially with today's tech. Now, if you're going to go into extended tech, you're going to go into some of the stuff I'm just now talking about on Man and Machine, which is directed energy weapons. Unless you want to sit there and explain them like completely, you're going to have to just give them I'm using this weapon, this is what it does. Okay, which is what I had to do because I didn't want to sit there and spend another 2 days trying to explain how these things operate. Okay. Okay, what's next? C-Dog says Galactic Civilization 4. Haven't played it. So I got no words on that. I just don't have the time to play video games. I would love to. I'd love to be able to sit here and play MechWarrior Online and do videos on that, like some of the guys I watch. Or Galactic Civilization. I hear that's a good one, but I have never played it. You know, I just don't have to. Like tomorrow was supposed to be basically a day off where I could just make a whole bunch of content for you guys. And I got a phone call, and there goes my entire afternoon because everyone's like, "You work from home. You're free." Right? Yeah, right. You annoy the hell out of me. But I'm not dog sitting. I draw the line. Last thing I need some dog puking on my floor. Let's see. Fabian says, "Sounds good." What? Dog puke? No. Would you like to write that? Which I'm not sure which one you're talking about, Fabian. The one where it's dark as hell, or the one that's kind of cliche? I'd write them both, honestly. I started writing that second one, and it well, I don't remember where I put it. I have a notebook somewhere buried in here, and it's on. I also have some of it on one of my hard drives. I got two separate hard drives over here for all my stuff. So yeah, I would like to write that. It's just, again, I'm on one series at a time. I can't jump around. It'd be nice if I could, but this brain has limits. Let's see. Ava says, "Eva Online, C-Dog, I am one of the Imperium's generals." Ma'am. And oversee Task Force Anvil. Oh, so you're not the Hammer. Okay. Sniper says, "Oh boy." Okay. Looks like C-Dog and Ava are having a conversation in there. So let's see. Back to Sniper. Oh, okay. He was part of the mining fleet for Reds on local. I'm guessing you guys are still talking EVE Online on that one. I played the first one a little bit. I played the single player for a while. I personally found that if I built up and I did a trifecta of battleships, I was pretty much untouchable. I would always send them out in threes, and that was just my thing. Because by the time you lose one, you can already tell the other two to withdraw, and they can cover their own ass as they're running away. At least that's the way I was doing it. Current population, 600,000 players. Wow. All sharing at the same time and fighting over 5,000 star systems. Wow. Politics are the worst. Yes, they are, Ava. Yes, they are. Politics is, well, how do I put this? I'm sick of dealing with West Pointers because they're politicians with a rank. And one of the Tremors movies said it best when it comes to government folks. Take something simple and complicate it. Let's see. Eve is 20 years old. So good for playing over the years, but not good for short-term play. I'll take your word for it because I'm not a big one. Whoa, shit, that jumped. Warships low or no? Okay, you guys are talking about stuff in here. Okay. Fabian says, "I know the history of the Knights Templar. They would take the gold of people and give receipt. Then they would give it back to other at the end of the journey." Yeah, they were big on loans. A cursory reason why they were actually taken down is the King of Spain had borrowed so much that the interest was so high, there was absolutely no way. At that time, there was not enough gold on harvested and smelted into coins, or even bullion for that matter, on this planet for him to repay the loan. So he said, okay, instead of repaying him, we're going to tell them we're going to repay him, and when they show up, we're going to kill him. And they had to run. They took a lot of their fortune when they went into hiding, at least what was left of them. Let's see. Fabian says, "There is more resources in the asteroid belt than on Earth if you can mine it." That's the kicker. If you can mine it. which is why usually when I'm talking about those in the stuff I've created, they're either using a type of jump drive or they have their own transportation system to a station that's collecting all this stuff. Usually drones are bringing in the station, and then you basically got your space truckers coming in and swapping out trailers. They're just pulling in, dropping off the empty, rehooking up to the loaded one, and taking off. It's a whole lot easier that way than ever trying to load a hold up. It's better just to have a movable hold. So when you take it back to wherever you're actually working with it, then you can just, again, offload. And while it's there, people can dump it and do whatever they want with it. But you are 100% right there, Fabian. The thing is, you don't know what you're getting. You never know what you're getting when you dig into an asteroid. And you don't know if that asteroid's going to explode or not. It is possible. It's rare, but you're going to lose a decent amount of drones in that. Okay, War Sniper. First nullsec. Then, okay, I don't even know what the heck you're saying here. High sec Naros. Okay, either you're talking EVE Online or you've had too many drinks. So I can't even say that. Okay, Ava's still talking. Sea Dog. See. Nothing is free. Nothing is free, Sea Dog. Nothing is ever free. Yeah, Fabian, I'm thinking the same thing. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that he's just in there talking about the game. I'm jumping over them talking about the game. Okay, Z1, you're done. It's late. Well, have a nice day and good night. See you later, Z1. We'll see you next time. Have a good one. It's 8:06 local time here. So I probably won't be on too much longer. Let's see. That's not a day off. Content takes time. Content does take a lot of time. The writing out of all these, I mean, here's a good one for you. That right there probably take me 30 minutes because you can't see it, but there's a page that's ripped off there because it went totally to shit. And I was like, oh no, I screwed that up and I had to rip it off and start over. But the thing is, it's what you got to do. Okay. Let's see. Bell, if you want to start a gaming channel, I would watch that. Yeah. The only problem with a gaming channel is I would have to wonder which game to be playing. And I honestly don't know how to film the channel at the same time while I'm playing. The thing is, like I do watch on occasion a couple of gaming channels, and I kind of laugh because even the goofy games like the Army Men games, a lot of these guys, they're literally just throwing stuff up randomly, and they don't realize if they maximize their area, they'd win the game so fast. It's crazy. Put your support stuff in the back, stack it up organized, and then you got all this room to build your facilities to create all your soldiers, your air support, your tanks, and all this other stuff. But nice to know, Bell. I'll look into it. Yeah, the server farm for EVE has got to be massive. It's probably got to be 10 times the size of the house I'm sitting in. Let's see. Somebody's building battleships. Server room. Sell ore or other stuff. Okay, why not? Make money. Because if it don't make money, it don't make sense. Gave us a place to meet up. Hey, you're welcome. I mean, if you guys spend the whole time in the chat talking about something and you meet up with like-minded folks, I mean, if you guys send each other your emails and you end up, linking up into a team, okay, cool. I'm all for it. Because nowadays it's actually hard to make friends because nobody actually goes out. It used to be, you go to the pool hall or something like that and you meet up with folks. You just talk to folks who are there and eventually you make friends with somebody. Now everyone's behind a computer. They don't actually talk to each other. Fabian wants story ideas and reviews. Yeah. Let's see. I'm not drunk. I don't drink. I'm a guy that makes sure the ones who drink get home. Yeah, Actually, Sniper, that's the way I used to be a lot. I mean, I don't drink anymore. After my second tour, I lost my taste for it. And I used to drink a lot. But eventually I just turned into the guy where they're like, hey, can you get us back? Yeah. And then they would take off and they'd give me a call like, hey, can you drive us back? Although, as you know, they're War Sniper. Sometimes they can ruin your night. And I got a quick story for that one. And this is just something that happened. I was in Colorado. I made friends with somebody who owned a club. So I'm there. And some other folks I knew. And almost all of them were married or engaged at least. And they wanted me to drive them back, and because they wanted to be able to drink and have fun. I'm like, okay, well, you can have fun, but when I'm talking to a nice young lady, how about you not come up behind me and pee on my leg? I'm not even kidding on that one, by the way. And yes, I did backhand them for that. But I was so pissed off with everybody by the end of the night because they were just acting a fool and being stupid that I threw them all in the back of the pickup truck, not mine, and I drove them back to a friend's house. And there was his wife was in the passenger seat. She was the only one who wasn't passed out drunk. I mean, besides me, because I was driving. And she's like, aren't you going to wake him up? Well, I had parked on a hill. I just hit the latch for the tailgate. Tailgate drops, and they all fall out like cordwood onto each other. All I hear is, oh, that wasn't nice. No, it wasn't. I just got in my car and left. I was like, I'm done. I'm not dealing with this. So, yeah, sometimes you can actually be, they're lucky cell phone cameras were not very common at that point. I think the most you had was a still picture camera on your phones at that point. So, yeah, if I had video, I would have just enjoyed showing that to them. Yeah, this is what happens. Of course, one of them had to go to work the next day, and he was all bruised on one side. I'm like, no, you work in sales, but then you got drunk. What can I say? Let's see. We are only here because we like your stories. Well, I'm glad, Sea-Dog. I'm glad that you like the stories. And if you have any critiques or comments or whatever, please put them in the chat, and I'll get to them. Uh-oh, we got a demon. Sorry I'm late. It's been really busy today. Shit. Your uncle died on Monday, and by the time I got free, I had to leave for work, and I'll watch this later while at work. Keep up the good work, man. Catch you next time. Now I'm wishing I had some scotch or something, to the uncle. That's not cool. I think we've all been there a little bit. Sin E. Have you thought of writing an expanded universe for multiple stories? And Fabian, it's okay. Expand, like trying to merge them, that wouldn't be easy to do. That would actually be very, very difficult to do because they're not designed for that. To do that, you need some sort of core narrative that you're following. Like the Star Wars expanded universe worked because they were all still following a core function. Actually, they all had to be read by George Lucas, and he had to sign off on them. Just like the Battletech series, all of them had to coalesce into one narrative together from the start. They couldn't just be, patchwork together. I might be able to get 2 together, maybe 3 if I'm lucky. But that's with stories that weren't meant to go together. That's difficult, Ava. That's actually a challenge. That's a big challenge right there. I'm sure a couple of them, like the one I mentioned before, if a human takes a knife to a gunfight, that can go with any of them. Or warning, humans will screw anything. I forget exactly what the title was, but that actually was a 2-parter. And that was the first time actually somebody in the comment section had the idea, just kind of go off script and just talk inside and see if that works. And it worked out really well. I wish I remembered who it was so I could give them the thanks on that one. But yeah, Ava, that's a tall order. That's seriously tall to mix stories that weren't meant to. If you do that, what you end up doing is getting what happened with Robotech back in the late 80s, and that you're trying to merge three stories that were similar technology but were not mixed together right to make one cohesive story, and it just didn't work. Um, yeah, sorry to hear SS Demon. That's true. Drunk people can ruin a night. Yeah, especially when a woman stands up on just redone leather seats while she's wearing high heels. Oh, me and her boyfriend had some words on Monday, and he thought I was lying until I told him I almost had to fill out a police report because of it. And then he actually called the Honolulu PD and asked them, and sure enough, they can confirm the call. And he was extremely apologetic because he would have owed me like $2,000 at that point to redo that stuff, because he was about to cost me a lot more than just the seats. Anyway, yes, Demon needs a hug. And yes, you'll always get support for stuff like that, Demon. Always. Again, Erica says to Demon, sorry for your loss. Good vibes and prayers to you. Yes. I do have to say, thanks to that, I don't know how many of you actually finished the story where the guy inadvertently captured a succubus that was about to attack his nephew. Well, the whole thing where the character is qualified as a deacon, I actually pulled that off myself because I am, according to the Army at least, not to the church, but to the Army, which means I can help them with prayers, but I can't give out communion or stuff like that. So, but that fell in very well with the story, so that's why I used it. Had that happen, somebody else peed on your leg too? I hope it was a dog, because seriously, having to explain to the wife why I just almost knocked his teeth in was not a fun experience. And all I could think of is that old British skit where the guy's sitting there and first guy just walks up, starts peeing on him. It's like, sir, you're peeing on my leg. Yes, I am. Would you mind not peeing on my leg? It's like, and they're trying to debate and everything back and forth. It was a pretty fun skit for back in the day. Yep, for hitting him. Yep. Okay. I love your segues into your personal stories. Yeah, well, I got a few of them. I just got to be careful. I got to be a little careful on some things I say, because some of them fall into territory I'm not supposed to talk about anymore. Well, wasn't supposed to talk about in the first place, but regardless. Ian M. Banks' books were merged in a single verse was hard to follow. Yeah, they usually are, especially if they're not meant to be. That's the key. And it's why a lot of the stories I have seemingly end open-ended. So if I need to, I can expand on it. But unless you have it set up specifically. Now, a lot of my stories wrap around Earth already has a preset culture, preset technology, preset amount of colonies, preset amount of, all this other stuff going on. So you can't make two Earths unless you do multiverse, and multiverse is very difficult to make well. There's a lot of multiverse stories out there. Marvel tried, and my God, did they screw that up so bad? Oh my God. It is painful how bad they did it. Now, I will say this, Multiverse of Madness wasn't as bad, because when you actually start working with that, and yes, thanks to my physics professor, I'm pretty sure, well, I don't even know if he's still alive, honestly, but yes, all that stuff, it wouldn't make sense, because you're trying to put your logic of this dimension into logic of this dimension, but the logic of this dimension is almost completely opposite, but it is halfway to this dimension and this other dimension, but those two, their logic is flipped. but you don't know which one is which when you go in. So you don't even know what the hell's going on. You don't know which way is up. And it's just, it'll throw you for a loop, especially if you're doing those multiverse. Now, if you're doing multiple timelines, it's actually a little easier, which is why when they do it with the Flash in the DC comics, they do a better job. That being said, it's overdone. It is very overdone. I did have one story, and this was based off the DC comics where a guy was an actual dimensional jumper. And it was, if you looked close with the description, you could actually tell if he was in the actual DC universe or if he wasn't. Was he in Uncanny X-Men or was he in Amazing Spider-Man? Was he in, and you got to look at, are certain characters there? Are certain characters got certain powers? Are, all this different stuff plays into it. And it was actually kind of joked around a little bit with itself because the main character would forget what dimension he's in. And one of the funniest ones, I actually had somebody reading it and they were laughing hysterically when the character turns to Lex Luthor's secretary, who's actually a mercenary, and he forgets what dimension he's in. And he just like, Mercy. He's like so happy to see her, picks her up, waves her around. It's like, oh, it's so good to see. And she's just sitting there like, what in the fuck is going on? Huh? And then he realizes, oh shit, oh, sorry about that. I got a little confused. I'm sorry. And she's just like, Mr. Luthor would like to talk to you. And she's just like, he's like, oh, you're that Mercy. Okay. Sorry. Got it. Although it does play in a lot when he's dealing, he knows everybody's secret identity because he's been to universes where they've been just upfront with it. He knows everybody's weaknesses. He knows everybody's powers. He's met most everybody, not everybody. You find out like there's even a spot in there when he meets Trigon and they go face to face. He's like, remember last time we talked? You want us to have the same conversation again? And Trigon's like, nah. Because their powers are pretty even when just on power level. And when you understand energy, well, energy is energy. It's just, you can have enough kinetic energy to stop electrical energy and vice versa. But energy is just simply energy. And on energy levels, they're pretty balanced. That's why Trigon's like, yeah, let's not. Because he has a chance of losing and he doesn't want to do that. But the character has absolutely no interest in fighting him anyway. He doesn't want to dig in his shit. The only time he ever talks to Trigon is like, hey, you see that son of yours that doesn't have powers? Yeah, how about you leave his dimension alone? He's a friend of mine. I'd rather not have to come in here and sucker punch you by kicking you right in the nuts again. Little things like that. So, but since he's a dimensional jumper, you got to remember there's certain other dimensional jumpers in DC Universe. So if you're in that sector, you got to remember Raven is a dimensional jumper. But as soon as you become a dimensional jumper, there's only one of you. And there's only one possibility because any more, and you would be constantly running into yourself because every time you split to one universe becomes two in the multiverse because of the decisions and you both have the same powers, eventually one's going to go to the other and you're going to be like, hi, how you doing? I'm okay. What the fuck are you doing here? Well, this, that, and the other thing happened. And you're just like, you literally be spending the entire comic talking to yourself. And seriously, is there another way of showing that you're freaking nuts? Is talking to yourself. But again, if done right, jumping dimensions can be done well. It can be very entertaining. And unfortunately, you have to humanize a character like that because they can be unbelievably powerful. My character, because of what happened in his past, you mentioned certain people, and the first thing he does is this. But he goes through vodka. And the thing is, there was an actual like Blazing Saddles line as he's talking to Vigilante, the cowboy guy, and he's like, man, drinks like that, he don't eat. He is going to die. When? You know. And good movie, by the way. If you're too young to have seen it, I suggest you look it up. You can't see it on Netflix because it's too offensive. Cry me a river. Anyways, where was I? I was up here. Let's see. Ava says lawyers, politicians argued to be right. Scientists and militaries debate to find out what's true. I guess that's the way, if you can look at it that way. The thing is, lawyers don't care about what's right. They only care about what they can prove or disprove. Politicians will argue as long as they're considered right. So that part, yes, you got. Scientists will only find out what's true. Well, they'll find out what's true, but they'll only tell you what they want you to know to maintain their career. Okay, thanks to the information age with the internet, you can find out a plethora of stuff that they're hiding, things that they've found, stone or stuff written in stone, literally, that totally disproves a lot of things they're talking about. Hell, the Big Bang Theory itself has been disproven through basic science and basic breakdown, because the Big Bang Theory was quite literally, in the beginning, there was nothing that exploded. I'm going to let that one simmer. There was nothing and it exploded. That doesn't happen. Okay. It doesn't pass the sniff test. I'm sorry. Not going to happen. No. Okay. So the thing with the scientists, they want to know it's true, but will they always report it? No. Military personnel debate to find out what's true. Enlisted do. Officers are too busy watching out for their careers. I swear, they get issued a set of knee pads at West Point and Annapolis and wherever else college they graduate from, because all they care about is their political career. It is a standing comment in all the branches that officers are nothing more than a politician with a rank. Most good officers I've known have gotten out around the captain mark. I've known very few officers that are above that rank. Those that have actually been in actual combat. It is very rare to see what's known as a Mustang, which is a former enlisted, now officer, to get above the rank of major. They usually put a halt on that. And they have some of the stupidest rules when it comes to promotion. I mean, something that doesn't make sense. Like, you need to be married. What the hell does that have to do with the price of tea in China? And that trickled down to the enlisted. You can't get above E6 unless you're married. For most people, unless you get some sort of recommendation or you've been got like a Purple Heart or something, then maybe. But yeah, it's not a black. Ava, you gave me a black and white statement. Unfortunately, that one is extremely gray. I want to say you're right. You're right to a point. But I can't say that the entire thing is 100% true. Now, those of us on the ground need to know what's true and what's not, because it keeps us alive. And it keeps our buddies alive. And it makes sure that those trying to end that whole us being alive thing get unalived very quickly. So, okay, down here, Fabian, didn't they just don't watch Marvel films anymore? I think they are crap. Only watched 6 of them. Yeah, after Endgame, you might as well just end watching. I don't know what the hell was going on. And I can give you at least one good example where we knew the Endgame was the end times for it. one of these, I swear to God, I almost got my ass kicked for it. And we're at the scene where the ship is using its main cannons on the ground because Thanos is getting his ass handed to him. And he's raining fire. And suddenly they're like, something's coming through the atmosphere. And I hear people, including myself, go, what the hell is what they talking about? And then they see the flash of red and blue. And I scream out, oh, the bitch is back. And instantly I go, because I got a bunch of kids around me. I want to be respectful, especially with the parents around. I turn and look, and there's a guy about 4 seats down. He heard me say that. He is laughing hysterically and just gives me one of these. I'm like, okay, I'm safe. I'm not going to get jumped here. But oh my God, I'm just looking at this like, oh, bad. And then you had the whole woman power scene. I've never known an entire, bar none, even the kids, the entire theater went, ugh. I mean, just, I wish I got that on film, but I don't feel like being, charged with a felony for filming something in a theater. But it was just, even the kids were like, that was just stupid. So anyways, the Marvel films are just, they're done. They're done. Marvel Studios is done. Disney is done. They're all done. Okay, these guys are still talking about Eve. So Fabian says, I'm going to have to leave in a bit. Up for work in 5 hours. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, yikes. 5 hours. It's not a lot of time to get some sleep in unless you sleep really fast. I don't know about you, but it takes me about 4 or 5 hours before I'm actually in REM sleep. Doing these and doing the stories actually helps me sleep, believe it or not, because I sleep deeper when I dream, and the deeper sleep I get to go through lucid dreaming. So let's hoping that you get a little bit, even if you're only seeing maybe 30 seconds in what you perceive time of dreaming, then you went in REM sleep, so you should be good. Let's see. Bell says, all I can think of is SCP-507, the reluctant dimensional hopper, when you were talking about DC Comics. He's not quite there. I mean, he has other abilities besides that. Actually, he's an amalgamation. He was meant to be a anti-superhero weapon. He didn't even realize he was a dimensional jumper until his emotions reached a state where he had just lost his freaking mind. He's literally in the watchtower, screaming, beating his hands against the ground, just bawling his eyes out because of what had happened to him. I don't want to ruin the story itself, but until he got to that point, he didn't dimensionally jump, and that's the first time he dimensionally jumped. But he didn't jump to another dimension. He jumped to the in-between, which he calls the void. And when he does, he has to, if he takes anybody there, he does have to wear glasses because he doesn't have eyes when he does that. They just basically disappear, and it's just a void in his head. It's kind of creepy as hell, which was kind of the point. It was meant to be creepy. The first person you see him take into the void is Hawk Girl, Shaira, and she just about wets herself trying to get away from him. But if he lets go of her, he has to keep physical contact. If he lets go of her, she's literally sucked into the closest dimension at literally the speed of thought. And you don't want that to happen. That could be bad. But yeah, there's much more to it. SCP is interesting. I think they overdo it. I think the reluctant dimensional hopper, they did a good job with him. I think they did that. Let's see. How about a white hole spewing the matter from the last universe? Was the white hole nothing? Because that's the premise of the Bang Theory. And if there was a previous, and we're talking the beginning of time, if there's already something there, then time has already begun. That's not the beginning of time. Where did it all start? How did it arrive? How did you get the molecules and stuff like that? It does again. Does it pass the sniff test? Nope. It smells like shit. Yeah, nothing reached critical mass. Okay. Sea-Dog says the best officers Mustanged it. Yes, they did. The best officers I've ever known were all prior enlisted, with the exception of, I believe, 2 in my career. one of which he just was smart enough to know, hey, it's an NCO thing. He'll listen, but he shuts up unless he has a question. Aside from that, he just does his job. And the other one, he just was good at his job. He was just naturally good at it. The only problem is, for as much of a pretty boy he was, his internals were all jacked up, like seriously jacked up. And I've kind of felt bad for that. He was a really nice guy. Let's see. War Sniper. I had 2 nicknames in my group's guardian level because they can drink and have fun and have a good evening. And when something goes wrong, they know I'm there to hold and stable and get them home. Yeah. Group Guardian, Group Warrior. When I was in college, we had these guys were assholes. The campus security said you couldn't even walk on campus when you're intoxicated, even if all you're doing is walking to your dorm room so you can pass out. That's all you want to do. You're not bothering anybody. You're not talking to anybody. You're not vomiting. All you're doing is walking. So they want to get people for drunk in public. Well, I decided, okay, I'm going to do something. I said, as soon as you see the red and blue, run onto campus, run to your rooms. I got in my truck. I pull out of the parking lot and I see the cop car way up on the hill. And I know he sees me. And I start flicking my lights like I'm trying to figure out if I'm in high beam or low beam. And then I slowly turn and I'm zigzagging, not enough to go past the yellow line or the white line, but I'm zigzagging slow. I come up to the stoplight. I'm kind of canted. I see him pull up behind me. He has one red light on, no blue, which was surprising. I pull out on the green light and I'm slowly swerving. I go into the parking lot. I'm basically making lazy laps until I see at least 3 other cruisers come in. I pull in almost straight with the parking spot. And I get out and I'm like, oh, geez. I lock the door and I'm like almost tripping over myself. One of them walks up behind me and goes, excuse me, sir, are you okay? I just straighten up and go, yeah, I'm fine. Why? They proceed to spend the next probably 45 minutes giving me a sobriety test, which I pass everything. Finally, I'm like, will you just give me the freaking breathalyzer? I know you have one. The breathalyzers were pretty big back then. And they sit there. I blow it and I was like, 0.0. You're sober. Why are you acting like that? I go, oh, I'm the designated decoy tonight. Those guys were so mad, but they started laughing so hard. They knew exactly what was going on. The only one that didn't laugh was the chief because he knew he was going to get in trouble by the campus because the campus wanted to make more money off of us. And all I could say on that one, yeah. So let's see. I don't know if that's Sofik or Sofek, so I'm just going to say Sofik. Yes, I'm on time. Well, sort of. We've been on for 2 hours now. Let's see. War Sniper says, Warrior, because if a group fight happens, it will end. I will end it before it starts. Yeah, well, definitely got to do that. De-escalation is a wonderful thing. Ava says, grenade launcher. You mean death by dial-up? Sort of. Somebody's been watching the Chubby Sparky. Oh, the Mark 19 is fun, but you wouldn't get me to use one ever again. Not after I found out the lubricant you use, which looks a lot like Crisco, but you can't use Crisco. You got to use this stuff. You found out it's an extremely strong carcinogen. And we used to joke. We was like, oh, you got the Mark 19? Hey, don't forget the whale jizz to put on it. And it's like, dude, I can't put it on the shaft of this thing without making. You had to make the reference every single time. Like, yeah, take the whale jizz and lube up the shaft. And stop it, dude, stop it. We're laughing our asses off at the new guy. But yeah, once we found out how nasty that stuff was, you didn't get the Mark 19 out of the arms room. Nobody would get near it. Nobody wanted to clean it. Nobody wanted to lubricate the damn thing. Nobody wanted to be around it. Stuff is just crazy. Okay. Let's see. I'm not sure. Michael says, how do we know that there was only one Big Bang? How many of them have there been? The Big Bang, the reason I say it's disproven is because they say that is the beginning of time. If there are multiple Big Bangs, how did they begin? How is that working? It's never been answered. So if somebody can come up with a reasonable something, and you got to come with receipts, don't just tell me it works, then I'm all ears. Just bring it to me, because I'm all about the quantum energy anyway. I want that. I want the quantum flux capacitor. Yes, that is a thing. I want it to be able to adjust the frequency a little bit. So if I get a cut on my arm, it'll heal it in about 5 minutes. I want that sort of thing, but it's being held from us. And yes, I know where to get receipts for that. Okay. Anyway, Ava says, Sin, they shot at Doc. Do you want to null them? I think you want to say nuke. Well, thing is, Ava, just like the Chubby Sparky said in his video, the machine gunner and Doc are pretty close. I'm not a medic. Maybe I should have been. But guess what I carried? I was either the 240 gunner, which is the heavy machine gun, or medium, depending on who you talk to, or I was a saw gunner, which is known as the automatic rifle, which is also a machine gun, as is a belt-fed full automatic weapon. And yes, I had no problem running an entire 200-round drum out of that sucker if anybody dared shoot at my best friend, who was Doc. I wonder if he's ever watching. Hey, Hershey, how you doing? And yes, that's a nickname. It's not his real name. He got the nickname because of his taste in women. Anyway, yay, history time. Yay. Yep, there you go. Not Newell, I meant nuke. Okay, yeah, I missed that. Yeah, and he was right. You go anywhere near Doc, and somebody's going to hurt you. Actually, when I was in Iraq, somebody tried to run their car into Doc and got shot in the shoulder for it. Bullet went right through the windshield, man. No, that wasn't me. I know who did it, though. Fabian says, I only sleep 3 to 4 hours, so she'll be... Holy shit. Dude, Fabian, sleep deprivation is a thing. You don't have to sit here and stare at my ugly mug all night. What the hell? I mean, I hate to say it, but you might need a little, liquid sleep to go in there just to knock you down. Just make sure you time it. I've made that mistake. Whatever you use, once you actually take whatever is going to knock you out, you better be in your bed, lights off in the next 10 minutes, because that's going to start cycling into your system, and you got to catch it when it's at its peak, when it first hits you. If you go when you're on the downslope, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to actually pass out. But yeah, don't hurt yourself there, Fabian. Let's see. Bell says, I don't know DC, so DC's just like Marvel, they're dying. I don't think they understand the fans anymore. Ava says, Fabian, go to sleep, or I'm going to wrap you up in a blanket so you do. Get about 30 hours of sleep a week, usually enough. To each their own, Fabian, but you got us worried. Okay, just remember. Let's see. Oh, okay, the black hole is coming, then spew all the matter back to create a new universe from the old. Okay, well, it doesn't quite work that way. Black holes are actually collapsed stars. They're not actually supernovas, they are, but how do I put this? When a black hole gets full enough and bursts to a supernova, it basically just turns into a new star. It's not creating a whole new universe. A black hole that size, holy shit, we wouldn't have a planet. It'd already be gone. Let's see. Wargamer says, I go to sleep too. It's 02:35. Holy shit. Yeah. Go to war. Go to sleep, War Sniper. You're not going to be able to focus on the target if you're all sleepy. Let's see. Yeah, that story was bloody funny. Yeah. There you go. Demon says, thanks again, everyone. Just got to work. I'm surprised he's still going. Oh, thanks. Hey, as long as people are here and that counter doesn't go below double digits, I'm still going. It just means more for me to listen to once I'm out of the lumber yard. Oh, that's right. You're the lumberman. You're the saw man. Have a good night, everyone. Fabian says it's Jesus H. It's almost 2:00 where you are. Shit. Yeah. See you, sniper. Oh, wait. Aren't you British? Gotta do that way. I get them confused because the Polish do this one, or and you got some that are even like this. There's some like that. I mean, it's hard to keep up with all the different salutes and all that. Now, yep, he's a Saul man. I saw the man in half. All right, so what the hell? Here, I flipped my notes and now I don't have my notes anymore. I was going to talk about something else and now I forget what it was. All right, now. Okay, I went over the teleportation and time travel. Remember that one? Let's see. Current series. Yep, I went over that. Don't forget, there is one more coming down tonight. As you know, hell don't come up and the creek don't rise. You're going to get one every day. They'll be at least 20 or 30 minutes long, so you're good there. Where was I? Yep, I already talked about the difference between militia and regulars, which is why everything changed. And it looks like everybody's about to sign off. They're falling asleep. Listen to my voice. Should I sing Soft Kitty to you guys too? Go to sleep. Or better yet, the hey buddy, the sun's getting kind of low. Do the whole Hulk thing. I did want to talk about this. The quantum munitions being used in Man and Machine. The quantum bomb creates a quantum singularity. Quantum singularities are, for lack of a better term, they dismantle everything down beyond the atomic level. So if you're caught up in that blast, where a what's known as a nova bomb in science fiction is basically a big nuclear weapon. It actually causes a micro supernova to happen, which, as you know, is going to hit you with a lot of thermal, most likely going to fry most of your systems. The EMP is going to cook most of your electronics anyway. The actual force, if you're caught into it, is going to send you at about almost FTL speed some way, turning you into just not even chunky salsa. You're just going to be a stain. That's not something you want to be in. So, yeah, just that's the thing with the quantum munitions is when they go off, it's not like a nuke in space. Nukes in space are basically firecrackers. I mean, they're much more show than go. Nukes inside an atmosphere are devastating. So, I mean, it is what it is. Along with that, let's see. That pretty much covers my notes for the night. I'm going to just run through the chats real quick, and we're going to call it a night here. I'll make sure to prep your salty cigar for next time, Sea-Dog. Salty cigar. Is there a new series? Currently, just the new series we're working on, which is Man or Machine. Are you man or machine? Yeah, I've kind of gone over that. That was early on in the podcast. I went over that. Most everybody has figured that one out. It's already been touched on several times in the series. It was supposed to be a huge, big reveal, and then I was like, you know what? People listening aren't stupid. They've already probably figured it out. So I was like, here's what it is. Okay. Don't worry about me, folks. My health is fine. Functioning insomniac. Yeah, my insomnia kicks in, and then I end up like this morning as the alarm went off so I could go to the gym. I went to turn the alarm off, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Did I just dream for another 20 seconds? What time is it? Oh, it's 45 minutes later. Well, shit. Okay. New story. Sea-Dog gets his revenge. Dun, dun, dun. Any idea when you're going to go back to Family's Angel? I don't have a timeline for you. I don't have the notes are back there. I'm not going to go through them right now, but I believe it was either second or third on the list for right now. Probably once I'm done with Man and Machine, I might do one or two one-offs, and then I'm going to jump back into working on the series that you guys like. Just remember, everybody out there, You got to share, so people get the views up. You guys did share and the views went up, and we had a whole bunch of people jump on to the site and the channel, and you guys did a great job, and they started binge watching. And one person said they wanted to not watch the live stuff because apparently this ugly mug puts up some sort of, they didn't want to ruin the idea of what I look like when they heard my voice. Hey, it's no problem to each their own on that one. So you got to laugh at it, folks. If you can't laugh at it, you're in trouble. I know, because I was way too serious when I was younger. Okay, where was I? Crew in space story idea. Have a couple of those. One that needs to actually get a part 3 is the new crewmate, where the human male shows up. He's an engineer to start fixing some of the stuff that's broke, because the ship was made with different species technology. Turns out he's the only male on a ship that's still going to be out there for 6 months. And he's just like, oh, crap. Now what do we got? 2 insectoids. We got 1 mammalian. The captain is reptilian. And we got a few others. I don't know what the hell they are. And suddenly, oh, please tell me they're not all going into heat. Oh, shit. Honestly, that was meant to be a goofy story idea, and people seem to like it. As there's only 1, maybe 2 more parts to it, and that's it. Lego fleet battles. It's in the middle of the day for me, so I'm not sleeping. Well, it's getting later for me, and I got to be up at 4:30 to actually get to the gym, because I hit the gym first thing in the morning. It's just something I do, because then it gives me the rest of the day to work. Okie dokie. Good night, Mr. Sin. Okay. And everyone else, look after yourselves. Good night, Fabian. At work, saving crew in space. Yep. If you can put all of us into a story, that works. He is generous. Hey, you guys give me good ideas. I'll put it in. The comments section to each of the videos has been awesome for for giving me good ideas and making sure I don't miss things. So I'm all for it. I read every single one of them. As long as somebody's not being a total jerk, I give you a thumbs up. If you just come in and you just start sputing something, I'm just going to be like, yeah, whatever, and keep scrolling. Anyway, no sin, Sea Dog, Fabian War snips me and others in the crew. Oh, shit. Well, the only worry I have there, Avia, is I don't know you guys enough to respect that, because basing a character off a real person, you have to pay homage to the actual person. And just like dealing with a preset character, you have to do that. Now, they did it just a little bit with like the Transformers movie, when they've got Bumblebee and right next to it was a yellow Volkswagen Bug. That was the hat tip they needed. They thought they did it enough with Suicide Squad, when whatever the hell her name is pulled out the old Harley outfit. I'm like, you should have just put that on. But then they're like, oh, she's future Harley. Well, future Harley doesn't put up with Joker's shit. When he tried to kiss her, she bit his tongue off, at least the tip of it. So yeah, her going back to him didn't make a lick of sense. And I'm just like, what are they doing? They originally paid homage and then they killed it. If you're going to pay homage to the character, it has to be at least something good. You have to stick with the character. And again, basing off an actual person follows the same premise, or else I'd just be an asshole because I wouldn't do it right. And I don't want to do it wrong. Let's see. Oh, well, Fabian says, don't have friends that are interested in listening or reading stories. Ouch. Or else I would share. Sorry. Hey, it is what it is. Ava says, that's fair. What could be done is character tropes. Yeah, I try to dodge tropes as much as I can because I want to have more original content. Too many tropes, and it's like you're listening to something made by AI, which is, to me, boring. I've listened to stuff by AI, and I'm like, I get to the third page and it's only got like 5 or 6 to go. I'm like, I know what's going to happen. I flip to the last page. Yep. And it's not worth it. Oh, jeez. Come on, Fabian. That's just, I'm not going to just off you for that. Oh, yeah. Somebody holding coffee as he watches the sensor suite. How many cups have you had? Too many. Not enough. Now, the kicker is if I ever have a character that's an arachne, which is part spider, if they have coffee, it is very common knowledge that spiders get drunk on coffee. So hand a spider a latte and watch him go, fun. OCD and something. Yeah, I get that one. He's in a mood. Only 10. Okay. Well, folks, it's almost 2100 here. I think I'm going to call it because we've been going on for about 2.5 hours. So I'm just going to give my safety brief to everybody who's out there. Just remember, if you drive, you don't drink. If you drink, you don't drive. If your buddy wants to drink and drive, you can kick their ass. And you know what? When you stand up in front of the judge, you send him to me. And I will say, hey, I told him to do that. You can blame me for it. Don't send this guy off. He did the right thing. Make sure if your little soldier's going in the bush, he wears his poncho. Saves you from a whole bunch of trouble. And do not mess with the stuff that goes up your nose or into your veins. That is bad shit. Bad news bears right there. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about because a lot of folks are kind of in a mood right now. By the way, I can't even touch that stuff. I can't even stand the smell. It smells like deep fried dog shit wrapped in like old smelly fish or something. It's disgusting to me. So anyways, take care of yourself, everybody. This is Syntext, and I am signing out. Good night, everyone.